this help video, we're going to walk through the steps of setting up an order form in Connectably. We set up order forms in the settings section, which you can access via the cog icon in the menu, and then go to section 10, order forms. When you're in here, you'll see existing order forms that are in the system, and to create a new one, we just click on the orange create template button. We need to give our order form template a name, and this is seen by your customers, so you want to name it something in line with what they would expect when they come to that page. In this example, I'm just going to call it an order form example form, just so you can see when I've produced it where it goes to. Now, there are two options for how the Xero invoices get sent out when somebody places an order. You can set them both to no if you want to invoice manually. If you want to invoice as soon or send out the invoice as soon as the order form is submitted, choose yes for on authorization. If you want to also send out invoices when that invoice gets paid, you click yes for on payment. Now, we're going to set up an order form using Stripe, which is taking payments via debit card and credit card. And in those circumstances, you're in effect being paid instantly as somebody places the order. With a service like GoCardless, where a direct debit mandate is set up, or a bank transfer mandate set up with somebody's bank, that process takes a few days to authorize with their bank, and therefore there's a few days delay between authorization and payment. So with Stripe, set it up as yes for unauthorized, no for payment. If you want to invoice them at the point where they've authorized to pay and have paid, say you're taking payments via GoCardless, then and if you're using GoCardless, perhaps set those up to both be yes. Typically, you might only want to set it up to be just on authorization though. The next step is to set a thank you page URL, and this is a page that you've set up on your website where you're going to send somebody to when they've placed an order. I would have the thank you page be directly relatable to what they're buying from you. Perhaps a thank you video on there to thank them for whatever their specific purchase have been. What the next steps are going to be by way of them working with you or you working for them. But those are some recommendations around that URL there. So set up that thank you page before you come to set up your order form. Charge day, if you leave this as 0, it just charges them immediately. If you want to charge them on a specific day of the month, then if you go to the drop down here, you've got options 1 through to 28. Obviously 28 being the highest maximum number of days in February, except a leap year. So we have options 1 through to 28, but not beyond, because some months don't have days beyond 28 in them. So that is advantageous if you want to charge somebody at the start of the month or the middle of the month or at the end of the month. You might put a charge day as being different to 0 and charging them instantly. Payment merchant, you've got 3 options here. GoCardless for taking automated electronic bank transfers, typically as direct debits, but it can be one-off purchases as well that are done by bank. The advantage of GoCardless is that it's a lot more predictable that you're going to get your money. Fewer people change banks and therefore have payment details that run out of date. Stripe is a lot more convenient for the buyer. Most people will have debit or credit cards to hand. In terms of payment fees, Stripe is a little bit more expensive than GoCardless, but both of them in their own fields are probably the cheapest options that are out there. The third option is to process your order form as what we call an offline payment. And what that will do when you set up your order form, it will have the products on there that somebody's buying, but when they accept that order, it takes them through to an electronic signature instead of a payment mechanism. When they sign that electronic signature, it will then trigger in Xero whatever you've configured as your invoice sending option to send out that invoice. But that gives you the option of being able to process payments manually, but still use Connectably to put order requests in front of requests for somebody to order from you in front of somebody electronically. We're going to choose Stripe for this example. You've then got the option of running live or sandbox or test transactions for your order forms. With Stripe, you've automatically set up with a test and a live account when you set up your Stripe account. With GoCardless, you do need to register. If you want to run test transactions in GoCardless, you do need to set up what they call a sandbox account for GoCardless in order to be able to run sandbox transactions, test transactions with GoCardless. In this instance, we're going to choose a sandbox option for Stripe just so we can test our form. We need a terms and conditions link. Again, this is something that you'll need to set up on your website. If you're transacting electronically and online with people, you do need to have terms and conditions that govern how you are going to process payments, the privacy policy, a refunds policy, those kind of things that you and I would expect when you're buying online. It's a requirement when you do an online business to have those terms and conditions clearly published on your website, and we put a link to your terms and conditions in the order form that somebody will see. Next, we have the option on the form for what we'll do in Connectably when somebody has ordered and somebody's paid. We can either apply a tag or multiple tags, or we can run a stage move. If it's a stage that somebody's at in a sales pipeline, you can move them to a different stage in there. So for example, this might be at the quote stage and you're sending them a link to the order form and you want to move them to the bought and delivery stage in your pipeline. You could do that here. If you do that, then as you choose stage move, you can then choose the different stages to move a contact into. You can automate parts of your follow-up process by having a stage move trigger as part of an automation process. So don't worry that you're choosing stage move over apply tag. A stage move can still trigger an automation, and within an automation you can then subsequently apply tags as well. So don't think it's one or the other and completely exclusive of being able to apply tags. I'm going to just keep things simple though. I'm just going to choose our action on payment is to apply a tag. And I'm going to just simply put them into our automation tests entry point. That's the tag I'm going to choose on here, and that's what somebody will have applied when they bought from us. Another tag that I'm going to apply is, because they're buying, I'm going to apply a client tag to them. Customer status client, here we go. So they've now become a client, so we'll mark them as such on the system. And if you want to add other tags in there, then you can add tags into the process as we are here. Options at the bottom, whether to set this up as a standalone order form or as an ordered via a quote. We won't go into the using an order form on the back of a quote in this help video. But suffice to say, if you sent a quote to somebody and somebody clicks on the link to buy from that quote, we can configure an order form that in Connectably that corresponds to the quote that somebody's buying from. But we just need to set it up as ordered via quote as the option down at the bottom here if we're doing that. Most people will just set up standalone order forms that they want to send somebody to buy from, and so we'll choose this standalone order form default option here. When we click on the next button, that takes us to page 2 in the process, and at this point here, this is where we start to add our products or services to that order form that we're going to be selling to our clients or customers when they buy from this order form. If you've just been updating products and services on Xero, although we sync with Xero on a regular basis in Connectably and on some key pages within the system, if you just literally finished updating in Xero, you can click on this refresh from Xero button and it will pull down all of your latest product updates from the products and services section in Xero. This used to be called inventory, and you can see in the URL they haven't fully updated that. It's now under business and products and services settings in there, and this is where you set up your products, your services, your cost prices if there is a cost price associated with them, and importantly the accounts to which those products and services beyond, and you'll see the impact of that in a moment. There are 3 different ways of getting paid via an order form. One is what we call a pay now, where somebody will pay for all of those services right now, or all of those one-off services and the first recurring service right now. Or if you're using a stage-based delivery, using workflow stages to manage the delivery of a project, for example, a design phase, a build phase, and a test phase or a delivery phase, you might have different payments that are due at different stages in that process. The percentage on stages is where, for example, you're charging £100 across the entire piece and you want to charge them 25% as they get to those 4 different stages. Products on a stage basis, you can charge them for individual products that are part of the order form as they reach different stages in that workflow. Most common option that people choose for setting up order forms is just the simple pay now one, but if you have those more, shall we say, involved billing cycles on a stage-by-stage basis for different projects that you're doing, then do take a look at the staged payment options in there. In this example, we're going to set up a one-off purchase, and the one-off purchase is going to be a design support pack. In Xero, this is set up as a simple sale. It's not a subscription sale, so we don't see anything underneath here. If we need to check what that looks like, we can click on the View in Xero button, and that opens up, if you're logged into Xero, in the exact Xero page where you've set up that product. We need to choose a quantity that we're going to sell of this product in the order form, and as soon as we navigate away from having put a quantity of 1 or whatever that quantity is in there, it then calculates based on a unit price what the subtotal is for that. If I want to change the unit price from something that I've set up in Xero, the default price for that product in Xero, to something else, maybe a discounted price or an increased price, if I change that to £600, that's what the order form would bill as it processes through. And you can see the subtotals updated. You can see the total at the bottom has updated as well. I'm just going to change that back to what it was, to £500. And then using this plus icon here on the right hand side, I'm going to add another product. Now, as I choose here, I'm going to choose a subscription product this time. This is associated with a subscription account code in Xero. And if you need to know what that means, have a look at the Xero subscription account code settings in the help documentation. But in this one, I'm going to choose a Support Plus monthly subscription. I've called it monthly subscription 2019 as the item code in Xero, but the description that also pulls through from Xero keeps this a little bit simpler. It's removed, it's stripped what I called the item in my item codes in Xero. Let me just show you what I mean by that. If I open up the product in here, you can see if I go to edit item, the sales description that is seen by customers is this one here without the date on the end of it. The item name is this bit here up at the top with the date associated with it. That's what I mean by the different descriptions and item codes there. Because it's associated, as you can see here, with the sales subscriptions account that I've set up in Xero, what it's done, instead of just having a simple quantity and unit price like we had for the other product, the one-off product, it actually shown me a subscription interval that I want to choose on here. And in here I've got the option of days or months. So if it were, say, every week, I'd put a subscription interval of 7 days. If I'm billing every month, I'm going to put a subscription interval of 1 month there. If it's every quarter, I'd put 3 months. Every other month, it might be 2 months. If I'm charging every year, I'd simply put 12 months in there like that. This product bills monthly, so I'm going to change that to 1. Our maximum charges, this is an unlimited duration subscription, but if I had a product that I was selling to somebody, say on 3 payment installments, I'd set the max charges to 3 here. If it was a monthly subscription for a year, I'd set the max number of charges to 12 here. But as this is a recurring subscription, I'm going to leave that blank for unlimited number. And it's 1 subscription at £200 per month. Subtotal of £200, total £700 here. All of these figures are net of tax. When the order form is prepared, it looks up the tax rates in Xero and will add tax, add VAT to in the UK to the order form as somebody visits it. So let's have another look back what we've got here. We've got one product that's a one-off. We've got one product that's a subscription. We've got our subscription intervals. We've got our quantities. We've got our unit prices that were changeable, but we haven't changed them in this instance. The next and final step that we're going to do by way of setting up our order form is to go and configure the layout of how that form looks. So let's click on the next button. In here we've got a drag and drop builder. Automatically we'll have our form appear in there, but if we want to see what that looks like visually, we come over here on the left hand side to forms, single click on that and it puts our payment form placeholder in there. Now if we want to remove that drag elements from left menu placeholder from the pane here, we can just hover over it and click on the X button. If I wanted to add, say, a heading at the very top of the page, what I might put in here is either a H1, which is a large heading, all the same font, or perhaps this element here, a page header, which has both a header H1 type text and a subtitle. These I can, if I select them like this, I can go to text style and I can move them so that they're more centrally aligned. Might just do that. And this is a, what should we call this? A Connectably monthly sub with design pack. Let's call it something like that. Place your order via the form below, something like that. I'm sure it could be a lot more creative than that. We don't need to do anything with the form. There's some standard fields that go on there that Stripe or GoCardless, if we're processing with GoCardless, require us to have on there. So this is a standard format form. You can put other things in here if you want to. I wouldn't recommend you do so. I would recommend that you have all of your detail about what somebody's buying on either the page or the email before they come to this page. Keep this page really nice and simple so that when they get there, their focus is on placing that transaction. Let's click on the save button, and that's now completed that process there. All we have to do is click on the exit builder mode. Unsaved changes will be lost if you exit. We've already saved that, that's okay. And then it brings us back to this list of our forms, and we can click on copy link, and that copies the link to our clipboard. If we just open up another tab and paste that link in there, what we will see when that form opens up is applying our text styling that we've set up under our business settings, and it's put in there our secure form where we're asking somebody for their credit card number, expiration date, all of that kind of thing, company name if they've got one, and then name, email details. When this form gets submitted, bearing in mind we're submitting it into Stripe, that gets recorded in Connectably, gets recorded in Stripe, and the customer is set up in Stripe. And importantly, it's also set up in Xero, so we have a full sync of those 3 services, all working together and all being updated by the information that we're now storing on Connectably about what somebody has bought, what the billing cycles are for those purchases, and how we then cycle through those subscriptions. Connectably manages all of those processes and those billing cycles with Stripe and with Xero. If our buyer wants to see what those payments relate to, they can just click on this link here, view more information about the payment, and it will show them what they're buying, the items, what the unit price is, what the total amount is, including tax, and whether it's a one-off or it's an every month subscription. Close that off there like that. Nice simple form, secure on our servers, and you can go and take payments for products and services with confidence that that's not only going to update Connectably, trigger automations to onboard people, but also update Stripe, take those payments with Stripe, or Go Cardless if you're using Go Cardless for the form, and update Xero with the buying details, with an invoice that will get sent out to them automatically if you've configured it to do so. And then when those payments come in via Stripe, that managed by Connectably will all get reconciled into Xero to mark that payment as paid. Hope this has been useful to you. If you've got any other questions, just contact us via the chat icon on the help pages or via the email address support@connectably.com.